Okay, today we're going to work on calculations for the mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation. So today we're working on measures of central tendency and then dispersion. I'm going to be doing this in Microsoft Excel. First thing I'm going to do is make things bigger so that you can see them. We're going to make a small data set, and I'm going to show you how to make the calculations that you need for this chapter. Just trying to make things bigger so that you can see them. Okay. So up here, we're going to have x sub I. X sub I. And this is your variable. This could be height, weight, whatever it is, sales, you name it. So here, I'm going to put in some values here. So we'll have 15, 30, 22, 16, and 29. So these are observed values. Now, the first thing that we'll want to do here is organize these or arrange them from highest to lowest. So I'm just going to create a separate cell over here. We'll start with the lowest. 15 is the lowest number, followed by 16, followed by 22. Oops, excuse me. Followed by 29 and 30. Now, I have an odd number of observations. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 observations in my data set. I've arranged them from lowest to highest. When you have an odd number of observations, the one exactly in the middle, in this case 22, is going to be my median. Down here, I'm going to put median is equal to 22. That is the observation that is right in the middle. Roughly 50% of the observations are higher than 22, and 50% of the observations are lower than 22. A mode. The mode is the most frequent observation. So here, none of them are matching. So this is multimodal. But let's say I also had another observation in here. I'm going to insert it just for a second. In that case, 22. You can see here I have two 22s in my data set. In that case, the mode would be 22. Now, the next thing we're going to do is the mean. The mean, we're going to add up all of our x sub I. We're going to sum x sub I from, in this case, 1 to 5, because we have 5 observations. So we're going to sum those up. So I've got the sum. This right here is the summation of x sub I. Over here, down here, we're going to hit add. I'm going to take the summation of x sub I, and I'm going to divide it by n. N is the number of observations, and I have 5 here. So you can see I get 22.4. So here, I'm going to put the formula here. Now, in this case, this is a sample. So we're going to have x bar. Normally, there'd be a bar over the x, but I can't do that in Excel, so I just write bar next to it. X bar, which is my mean, is equal to the sum the sum of x sub I divided by n. And that's when we have a sample. If this were a population, instead of x bar here, I'd use mu. Okay. So that is the formula for my mean. So my mean is equal to 22.4. Okay. The next column I'm going to make, now you're going to be doing this in pencil on the exercise, on a lot of the exercises. And you'll be doing them on Excel for assignments. Now here, I'm going to take x sub I, and I'm going to subtract my mean x bar. X bar is just the symbol for the mean. X sub I is the symbol for x sub 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So here, x sub 1 is 15 minus my mean of 22.4. Hit enter here, and that's going to be negative 7.4. Here, I'm just going to copy this. Oops, no, I'm not. Okay. Here, we're going to take x sub 2. I know that says 3, but 1 is up here. X sub 2, which is 30, minus 22.4, which is our mean. And we're going to get 7.6. That I can copy. This is 22 minus my mean of 22.4. That's negative 0.4. 16 minus 22.4 is negative 6.4. And 29 minus 22.4 is 6.6. Now here, I'm going to sum this just to show you something. And you can see that's a very, very small number. That's 7.10543 times 10 to the negative 15th power. For all purposes, 0. When we take x sub I minus the mean, the sum of these observations will add up to 0. The only reason I didn't have exactly 0 was because of rounding errors. That means I did this right. If I got any number other than 0 or something really small close to 0, that would give me an indication that I took these deviations about the mean. That's how far each observation is from the mean. I made a math error, but I didn't. The next thing I'm going to do is create another column. This column is going to be x sub I, I'm going to use a caret here, squared minus, x sub I, my fault. Get back here. Here we go. X sub I minus x bar, that whole quantity squared. Now, what I'm going to do here, x sub I minus x bar, and then we're going to square it. What I'm doing here is I'm taking x sub I minus x bar, that's this column, and I'm just squaring it. So I'm going to hit a plus sign here. I'm going to highlight that x sub I minus x bar, which is deviations about the mean. Use the caret and a 2, and I'm going to square them. I'm going to square each one of these. And then I'm going to add them up. This right here is the sum of x sub I minus x bar squared. That's the difference between each observation and its mean, the deviations, and then I'm going to square them, and I'm going to sum them here and add them all up. Now to calculate the variance of a data set, we take the sum of x sub I minus x bar squared, and we divide it by n minus 1 for a sample. So I have n observations, which was 5. So I'm going to divide this by 5 minus 1, which is 4. And I'm going to get a variance of 49.3. This variance gives us an idea of dispersion. We have our central tendencies, the mean, the median, and if we had one, a mode. The variance tells us how tightly or loosely compacted our data set is around that mean. The higher this variance is, the more loosely compacted our data is about the mean. The lower that number, the more tightly compacted the data is about that mean. Finally, we're going to calculate a standard deviation. The standard deviation is equal to the square root of the variance. So here, that's my variance, 49.3. My standard deviation is going to be the square root of that. So I'm going to take that 49.3 and I'm going to take the square root of that, and that comes out to be 7.0214. I'm rounding it off. As you can see, I'm rounding it off to the thousands. Excuse me, the 10,000s. Excuse me, the thousands, my fault. So now I've got those measures. The last thing I've got to calculate is the range. The range is simply equal to the highest observation in our data set minus the lowest. So that standard deviation is equal to 30, which is my largest observation. You see it right here. Minus 15, which is my smallest, and that gives us 15. So my range here is 15. Those are the three main measures for central tendency: mean, median, and mode. And dispersion, range, variance, and standard deviations. This will be the end of this lecture. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Goodbye.